Welcome back to the mathleague.org YouTube channel. My name is Ian, and today we are going to be going over Sprint 23 from our release number 12501. Number 23 on the Sprint test reads, find the quantity with the same value as the square root of the quantity 29 plus 12 times square root 5, divided by the square root of the quantity 29 minus 12 times square root 5. Now, this might be intimidating to look at first glance, just because we have square roots inside of square roots, and above all that, we have it crammed into a fraction. However, the first thing we should notice is that we have a square root in the denominator and a square root in the numerator, so we can just turn this into one single square root outside of the fraction. So this can become the square root of 29 plus 12 root 5 over 29 minus 12 root 5. And for the purposes of manipulating this fraction, we can actually ignore this square root symbol for the time being. Remember that this fraction remains underneath a square root, so don't do anything to it that would alter the value of the square root. But as long as we don't alter what's inside this square root, we're not altering the value of the square root at all. So what can we do to this fraction to maybe make it easier to look at without actually altering the value of the fraction? This might be easier to think about if we, like I said, take the square root symbol away. Because right now, as long as we don't change the value of the fraction, all that square root is doing is just intimidating us, and we don't really need to be intimidated while we're working on our math. And once we see this, well, we already should know how to get rid of the radicals in a denominator. Obviously, if it were just a single term with a coefficient multiplied by a radical, then we just multiply both the numerator and denominator by that radical again. But in this case, we can use 29 minus 12 root 5 and our trick called difference of squares to get rid of this square root of 5. Specifically, if we were to multiply 29 minus 12 root 5, multiply that by 29 plus 12 root 5. That satisfies the conditions to calculate difference of squares, because if we multiply this out, 29 times 29, that remains, and negative 12 root 5 times positive 12 root 5, that's going to be minus the square of 12 root 5. But then we have the minus 12 root 5 times 29 and the plus 12 root 5 times 29, and those will cancel out. So that means that we will no longer have any square roots in our denominator. But again, we don't want to change the value of this fraction because it is secretly still under that square root. So we have to multiply the numerator by the same thing, 29 plus 12 root 5. So now we can multiply it out. And I'm going to do a trick here, which is instead of multiplying out and distributing the 29 plus 12 root 5 times 29 plus 12 root 5, I'm just going to write that as 29 plus 12 root 5 squared. We'll hold it like that for right now, because remember, again, we are secretly working underneath a square root symbol. So maybe having a square in the numerator will make things easier for us later on. Now down at the bottom, again, this is difference of squares. So we can go directly to 29 squared minus 12 root 5 squared. And further simplifying the denominator. Now again, remember that here at mathleague, we encourage you to have your squares memorized up to 32. And if you follow that rule, then 29 squared isn't going to take you any time to calculate. You should have it memorized that 29 squared is 841. And then we're subtracting 12 root 5 squared. Now 12 squared, that's 144, and 5 squared is 5. So now we need to find 144 times 5. And an easy way to calculate multiplying by 5 is to either multiply by 10 and divide by 2, or divide by 2 and multiply by 2. With 144, that's divisible by 2, so that's easy to divide by 2. 144 divided by 2 is 72, times 10 is 720. And then up here we still have 29 plus 12 root 5 squared. And now, what is 841 minus 720? Well, if we calculate that out, that's 121. And hang on, what's 121? Well, 121 is 11 squared. So now we have this big quantity, the 29 plus 12 root 5 squared over 11 squared. And remember, this entire time, we haven't altered this fraction at all because we've secretly still been operating under that square root symbol. We never altered anything that would have been inside the square root. So we can just put the square root right back where it used to be. We've had it here the entire time. And in fact, we could write that in at every step because we've never changed the value inside this square root. And now we're taking the square root of a square divided by a square. And to find the square root, all we have to do is take away the power of 2. The square root of 29 plus 12 to the power of 5 squared is 29 plus 12, 12 to the power of 5, 12 root 5. So 29 plus 12 root 5 squared, the square root is 29 plus 12 root 5. 11 squared, the square root is 11. So when we take the square root of this quantity, we get 29 plus 12 root 5 over 11. This is the same value as our original expression, and this is also option choice B out of our list of 5 answers. So our answer is B, and we're done. Thank you for watching.
Hey, this is Tim. Hope you're enjoying our videos. If so, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that sort of thing. But what I'd really want to invite you to do is to send us an email at media@mathleague.org. Tell us which problems you'd like to see us cover next in our video series. Take care and see you in the next video.